Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life. And Professor Sunrise Productions!
Hello class, Professor Samras here. In today's class, we're going to take a look at the ban list. First of all, sorry for not uploading in a while. I got shingles last week, so just being alive was an awful pain. I'm over it mostly now. I don't really have any symptoms anymore. Also, was a little tired of the format, to be honest, because I knew a ban list was right around the corner and was really tired of the elements, so this ban list is a blessing, if you ask me. So in this video, we will take a look at the ban list. We'll talk about each hit, or all of them combined. Then we'll do a quick meta-analysis and a quick prediction of what the best decks of the format will be. Or not the best decks, but what will be the played decks. Because I don't think you can really do a realistic approach to what the best deck in this format will be, just because there's just so much shit going on with Tier Elements Chokehold on the meta finally being released. There's just so much just flooding the drain of decks, so that's going to be very interesting. And then lastly, we're going to take a look at my first theory and my first craft of a Dragon Link in the next format. A Dragon deck, let's say, because spoiler alert, I probably won't be playing Dragon Link. I will be going back to Bystial control, at least for the foreseeable future. So, without further ado, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave some feedback down in the comment section below, and let's get right into the video. So, most of you probably seen the ban list for now, but I just want to quickly run over each limit or ban and just do my thoughts about it. So first we got Artifacts 5. This actually kind of hurts me because I was last week I was picking up Brave Virtual World and I was gonna do a video on it, but now with Artifacts 5 being banned and lots of board breakers being played next format, I'm not too sure if Brave Virtual World has what it takes to compete in that. With Artifacts 5, I could definitely see a niche in there because I feel like Brave Virtual World was very playable in the national format with Sword Soul and Despair, and we will definitely be going back into a power level similar to that. It just its high adaptability in forms of a disruption it can do, in form of the toolbox it has available to it could have been very nice, but with Artifact Size banned, I don't think any of the other win cons the deck has are good enough. Because if you just want to build a big board, you can probably just play Punk Libromancer or like Libromancer or Mechanical stuff. So Artifact Type definitely a good ban for the future. It just hurt because I was planning on playing the deck again, um, and it is what it is. It's overall a very good hit. Very Statue of the Storm. It's very good, of course, to not kill Flunder. They can still have the whole engine going, and if the format asks for if it's like very link heavy or the best deck of the format just struggles to deal with Empen, the deck still has lots of offers. Of course, it still has the trap, so it can get you into a rise on there in your turn. But overall, with statue gone, it's going to be way less toxic. Also, a hit to Kashtira because some people were on the statue list where you go to this Raid Raptor rank 7. So this also gets hit in the meantime. Probably not the cleanest hit for Kashtira just because they already have a floodgate on the board. They don't really need additional one. Anyways, Tier Elements Kid Carlos man. Mwah. Mommy Shenshin in the sky, she's blessing us. I played it a little bit and now she's blessing me again. I was asking for this just because I was really tired of tier elements. It just felt so repetitive. And spoiler alert, it's not the only tier hit. Definitely the strongest tier hit. It forces the tier list into a completely different angle where you have to play like the King of the Swamp, and also turns like you don't have a tier 1 card starter anymore, where you just go into Kid Carlos and you full combo afterwards. You have to basically fully commit a lot, which is going to be a lot for Tier Elements. I don't think Tier Elements is dead yet. Will probably be like a very cool Tier 2 deck, and I actually like Tier Elements as a concept. The cards look kind of cool. The fusions play very nicely, but now its chokehold of the meta is gone, and it's gonna be very good for the game. I feel like Sprite Elf, also very important hit. You cannot really limit it because like where it's really toxic is in all the other decks, which are not Sprite abusing it, and they just play it as a one-off. And even as a one-off, it would have been very strong. Maybe it would have been good to just limit it for now, but banning it is definitely the correct thing. If you just think about it, this card is insane. It is disruption. It is if you play like stuff like Divina or whatever you want to play, it is follow up. It is extension. It is protection. It is like everything, which is so crazy. If you can compare to Nightmare Goblin, um, it is unreal. It's basically Nightmare Goblin, but it also is on crack. It is crazy. So definitely a good hit. Should have been needed to be banned at some point anyway. So for the limits, we got all the shuffler, all the what are they called? All the Ishizus and all the tier elements to one, which is gonna be insane. So now the average tier elements deck lost like 2, 6, 8, 10, 11, let's say like 11 cards. You have to somehow fit. So this is insane. Um, Also, all of the T elements names to one makes so that Bystials, which will probably not be main decked anymore, probably just in the side deck, which also helps dragons a lot, by the way, but more on that later. It makes so that these hurt really hard, because if you get rid of one of them, they banish you. It's gone for basically the rest of the match, unless you can get it back with Crime, making it so that the deck is even more susceptible to Bystials than it was before. So that's a really good blessing. The Ishizu cards to one, of course, very important. These are just so toxic. They will still definitely be played in stuff like Naturia, Runic, / Naturia, Venice Life, stuff like that. And I feel like still a T Elements list is something to take a look at. I think Pack already did a video on that. Check that out, definitely. Very interesting approach. You still have 3 Diviner. You have the Mechanical cards which you can play, which are 3 level 6s, so you can go into Beatrice. You have Branded Fusion to send T element names. I don't think that's really worth it, just because you have such a little amount of T elements names to actually fuse, because you basically need something else to go into. But you still have very good generic fusion targets in the Dark World thing, in the Starving Venom. If you have a King of the Swamp, you can go to Lucalos. So tier definitely not that, but it's just not a tier 0 form deck anymore. Ancient Fairy Dragon, very interesting card. It's gonna be errated, making it once per turn, but it still has lots of applications. Maybe there's something to do with this card in the future, who knows. For the Unlimits, this True, very interesting pickup. I thought about playing this True if the format is gonna be very spell trap hate heavy, which it might be. This Truro is going to be a very good pickup in exactly a Bystial control, because then you can go into a Dawn Dragster. If, for example, Cosmic Cyclone is very popular, you might want to do that. In Dragon Link, you can also play this, but I don't think it's probably going to be that worth it, especially in Bystial control, which I am going to, just because the time rules really screw the deck hard already, and with this Truro, you'll just auto loss in those scenarios. And probably the only back row hate which might be made is Evenly Match, and the deck can actually play around Evenly Match pretty effectively if you know how to. So a very good pickup. It's a very strong card, a very good dragon. And maybe in the future, when this parta comes out, you want more tuners and you can somehow get into that. Jet Synchron, Mecha Fantasy O-Lion. These are one card Link 2s. I don't think we really are scared of that, just because there's no Anaconda, there's nothing, no really major broken Link 2 right now, which you can get into with those. Servant of Endymion, I love this card. I don't know why, but I really like the way the Endymions play, and I might want to test with it, just because it could be fun to play. It's probably not going to be good, but maybe there are some plays you can do with this. Maybe you could even play this in Draco Slayers. Probably not, just because the deck doesn't really activate a lot of spells, and you basically have to commit into the Servant of Endymion, or into the Endymion cards a lot, but maybe this deck can still keep up. Probably not, but I love this card. True King Lithosaturn basically does nothing. You probably will only play it as a one-off, as a true Draco search target. And also, Dinosaur's just got another sub-engine, which can pop babies in hand, so you probably don't need this anymore. Yadagarazu probably won't do anything. Let's be real. I don't think there's like anything Yadagarazu can realistically do. And Spiral Resorter 3 probably won't also change a lot, just because Master Plan is at 0 and you don't really have all that much to do with Spiral. So let's take a look at all of the decks which are in my mind, and let's just take a quick look at what they're strong at, what they're weak at. Just get a list of all the decks basically which are running up now in the format, which could do get into tier 1, tier 2, whatever. So let's take a look at the potential meta threats in the new format. First of all, we have Branded Despia. This is in a lot of people's mind, just because it was one of the 2 best decks in the last format before Pod. And it also got some new support in the meantime with Cartesia and Bystials. So this is definitely one of the runner-ups. And overall, it's just a very solid deck with almost everything. The only thing it's really lacking is like an Omni Negate, but it has like FTK tools, or like pseudo FTK tools. It has a plethora of disruption, being in the monster zone, on the spell trap zone. So it's maybe a little bit evenly afflicted, so it can get hit by evenly quite hard, but as long as you have like one Branded and Red in there, you are fine. It dies to 1 Ash a lot of times though, because Branded Fusion is just such a huge choke point. So this deck is definitely very strong, but it is not unbeatable like the Elements was in the past. Then we have Kashtira. It plays basically the floodgate deck of the new format. It will take a similar approach to every card is standalone super strong, like all of the Unicorn, Fenrir. field spell, all of these are like very good. So once you're in a simplified game state, you basically cannot win against the deck anymore. But it is super telegraphed and fragile. The end board is basically only in the monster zone, so everything which deals with monsters, stuff like Book of Eclipse, Book of Lunar Eclipse, even Dark Ruler is fine if you don't care about the zone lock too much. Are super good against them. It's actually kind of bad against hand traps as well. Stuff like Imperm, stuff like Baylor can really hurt the deck. Ash on Papaya, so whatever it's called, can be very good. So the deck is going to be good, but it's 100% not going to be the best deck of the format. People will definitely still play it a lot, so this is a lot of what I'm trying to focus on with with the Dragon Link, just because it is super hard matchup for us, just engine against engine wise. But like I said, as long as the deck can play a lot of non-engine, this point of super telegraphed and fragile is just gonna screw the deck, because if you can play non-engine, you just play the outs against the deck. You have like an 85 to 90% chance to see them, and then you just win against them 90% of the time, just because the deck is super fragile. Then we have Sword Soul. It is super consistent. It is very easy to counter with stuff like Token Collector, Veiler, Imperm Gamma. But even then, when people were trying to beat it, it was still one of the best decks, so just because it is super consistent, and playing a consistent deck in a longer tournament is always going to be huge. It also has a huge skill ceiling and skill expression, which people like. And most importantly, it has much room to adapt. It has lots of space for non-engine, so it can deal with the Kashtiras. It can deal with the branded cards. So definitely keep an eye on Sword Soul. I think Sword Soul is probably going to be a very solid tier 1.5 deck. And if you play this deck good, it's probably going to be a very good pick in the next format. Then we have Mechanical Hybromancer. This deck is a very oppressive end board, and I don't know anything else about it. So definitely keep an eye on that, because it has very good combo potential. Probably going to be the combo deck of the format. Though it probably has a huge choke point in the Assaulter, just like every Assaulter deck. But other than that, I don't think there's anything I know about the deck. So definitely keep an eye on that, and take a look at other Yugi tubers, so you can make your own mind upon the deck. But I think the deck is probably going to be strong. What I saw about it, it's probably going to be solid. Mathmech, it's a very good deck going second and going first. It has much room to adapt, just like Sword Soul, so you can play a lot of non-engine to combat a format, especially early on in the format. Is going to be very good, just because you can just play generic cantrips and you have like something against basically everything, which is really cool. And then you have a good engine to crack boards with, so that's pretty good. And it dies to Bystials though, and Bystials will probably not be main decked anymore, but they will be side decked. So you will probably have to deal with them post side, but this is not the end of the world, because you can just side in stuff like Rivalry Goes and like Floodgates to like counter the Bystials basically. Because if they use a Bystial on your trap and then they're stuck on like being Dragon Locked, that is a very good thing to do, like a very good trade to take. And then other decks and engines to keep an eye on. We have the Brave engine completely unscathed, so we'll probably see a slot here and there and some top cuts in any form of deck. We have Eddic Nister. If people are on a lot of board breakers to deal with Kashtira, Eddic Nister had just free reign to full combo, and then just sit on their rival Eddic Nister unscathed basically and untouched. So that's pretty good. Flunder is still a deck. The engine got not hit at all, so you can still do Empan, you can still loop all of the birds, you can still grind hard, you can still play Shifter. So very solid pick overall. Punk variant, the deck was one of the better decks in the first Pode format, with Eddic Nister, not Eddic Nister, sorry, with Mathmech also being one of the better ones. So naturally, these decks should be very solid to pick. You have a Sprite variant. The deck itself cannot probably not be played pure anymore, because you cannot really get into Toad, and you can get into Toad, but you cannot get into Toad under Elf. So you cannot revive a Toad, and only one Omnigate is not really that crazy. So definitely not played as pure, but as an engine, like 3 blue, Jet, Red, Smashers, and like anything which has a lot of little 2s. Definitely playable, and we'll definitely see some splashes in there. And then lastly, Labyrinth, probably the best trap deck there is right now. They do get new support in the new set. And the deck already is solid, just needs to be solved, I feel like. There are lots of variants running around. And in the new format with a way lower ceiling, I think Labyrinth has definitely some things to do in the next format. But let's take a look at the actual Bystial control list I've been cooking up with, so you can know what to play next format if you want to play Dragons. So here we are in the profile. Before we get into a card by card, we have to take a look. Okay, what is this deck trying to beat? So first of all, this deck is trying to beat Kashtira, because it is one of the harder matchups, or like probably the hardest matchup next to Branded Despia. and it's probably going to be very popular at the start of the format. So we really want to over prepare for it, or at least in testing, I want to over prepare for it so that I can have a very solid understanding of how much anti I need against them, so that I can make a very more than an educated guess of how my deck list will be for the foreseeable future. So this is the list which I will be testing with. It's probably not going to be the cleanest list. It has some very solid points, but depending on how the format will shape up, I feel like this list is probably going to change. I will probably still play these in the main or in the side somewhere, so you probably see a similar list to this lineup, just being spreaded in the main or in the side. So this is what we're trying to deal with. And what does speak for Bystial in the new format? Well, you lose the ability to use Bystials as a very strong disruptive tool just because the elements is not nearly as popular next format than it's going to be the last format. But honestly, as long as Bystials are able to resolve in the opponent's turn, so resolving a Magnemite in your opponent's turn, just getting the Bystials on the field in the opponent's turn, it is more than enough to get Bystials going. Because the only downside of Bystials basically is that they are kind of bricky. And with less Bystials being played, people will play more decks which lose to Bystials. And so, of us still playing Bystials in the new format, we will probably have a slightly lower usage of them in the opponent's turn, but still a high enough usage, in my opinion, to warrant playing them. Then add to that people are playing less Bystials, and our deck doesn't lose to Bystials anymore, at least in game 1. In game 2 and 3, this might be different. But I feel like overall, Bystial control and Dragons overall is in a very solid spot. But why do I play Bystial control over Dragon Link? Well, let's just get into the card per card, because at the start of the format, or like last format, I thought Dragon Link is gonna be the way in the new format, but I think Dragon Link just has way too much weaknesses against the Mind Hacker, getting rid of Striker Dragon, so that really hurts. And it plays less non-engine than Bystial control, so it has less ways to deal with Kashtira. So overall, I feel more confident playing a Dragon Control version than a Dragon Link version, because I did some own testing with Kashtira, and I noticed that it really dies to Branded Beast. Branded Beast is like such a strong disruption against them. Overall, body removal is very good against them. So I figured we will really want to get Branded Beast going, and in Dragon Link it's just really hard to get that thing going just because the deck already plays so many bricks. So let's get into the card per card now that we got most of the theory out of the way. We have 3 Rebellion, 3 Magnemite, and 3 Sarnia. Of course, these are the best Bystials because they get your engine going. Sarnia is really good with Seyfert. Magnemite and Rebellion, of course, the powerhouses. And then we have 1 Drewsworm and 1 Beldrake. These are the disruptive ones. Because Bystials are not that good of a disruption tool anymore, I don't think these will be very needed. I still just want to have them as one-offs, now that I have the ability to get the utility out of them. Beldrake will probably still be the go-to search target of Magnemite, this or Drewsworm, depending on the matchup, probably. So you still definitely want to run them, but I don't think playing more of them is necessary in the main deck, maybe on the side deck, depending on the matchup and the format. Now, probably the most important aspect of the deck, we have 2 Branded Regain and 1 Branded Beast. Why do I play this ratio? Well, like I said, we really always want to get Branded Beast online in this deck, because it is one of the better disruption tools, and because it is a control deck, it actually lacks some disruption tools. So we really want to get into our disruption tools. But the problem with that is that Branded Regain is just objectively better than Branded Beast. Branded Regain gives infinite resources, basically, so we really want to get to that. How do we do that? Of course, we play more copies of that. So we have 2 Branded Regain, 1 Branded Beast. Because Branded Regain is better to hard draw than Branded Beast, because we can use it in our own combo. It isolates us from like Bystials if the opponent have them, because we can then just summon a Bystial out of our graveyard a lot of times. We can get to draw one, so this is an upstart. And this is the more important one in grind games, so having an extra copy of that is very important. Add to that we are playing Albion to send a Branded Regained into the graveyard to draw one, and then we can just activate Branded Beast of the Rebellion, and then we have both Branded Beast and Regain, which is what we do, which is what we want to do. So we have 5 copies basically of either hard drawn these or getting access to the other one of these next to our Rebellion Chaos Base Seyfert whole-esque scenario, where we can get one of these hard drawn basically, because 5 is the perfect ratio if you just want to see one of them hard drawn. And then we just need to get into Rebellion, which the deck already tries to do anyways, to get to the other one, That way we have, I feel like, and at least in testing it worked out perfectly, the best ratio to get to both Branded Beast and Branded Regained available to us without bricking too much. So I really like that ratio, but more on Albion later. This card is insane. Really want to play 3, but I don't know how. Anyways, for starters, 3 Chaos Base, self-explanatory, 3 Safer, this card is insane, and 3 Black Metal Dragon. We do play one more normal summon which you do play one more normal summon that is optimal, but the deck does like starters, and Black Metal Dragon can unbrick Safer out of the hand, so I think this is super fine. Then of course we have the Wyver Burster, the Collapse Serpent, the Black Metal Dragon, the Red Ice Darkness Metal Dragon. You could play 2 of these, but the deck does really want to have a lot of non-engine. So I think the second one is just not needed, especially because it is actually not that good in the grind game, and you can just always add this off a Magnum, or you can recycle this off a Regained. So I don't think it is very needed to play a second copy of that. And then we have 2 Albion and 1 Fawn of Albaz. Like I said, this is just an upstart to send Branded Regain, but this can also unbrick our hand just because it can send a Dark into the graveyard, and then we can use our Bystials already, and from there on we can maybe play more. Getting additional Dark is very good. It is also level 8, so we do have extra access with Safred into Lebellion, because now we can use Safred, send the Shrouded. Let me make sure, 2, 4, 8. 2, 4, 8. Yeah, it is 8. So we can Albion the Shrouded to the graveyard, search Lebellion, and then once we got Safred into the graveyard, we can add this back and still use the effect to draw one. So overall, this gives a very good amount of utility in my opinion. It also makes Lebellion plus Safred better, because you can do the same thing otherwise. So you can use Safred, pitch Lebellion, and then use Safred in graveyard, banish itself, add the Lebellion back. These are all options you can do with the deck now, which you didn't have that much before. Of course, you could have always played more Albions than I did past then, but overall, I really like the addition to that, especially the unbreaking part, because this was the only thing I lacked with the deck, was just getting going first. But now with that I play the Albion, it really helps. And then I play 1 Fawn of Albaz to be able to send with the Albion, of course. This is also just a normal summon. It's like a Rocket Recharger. It is better to draw the Rocket Recharger than to not play at all. So I really feel like this is a good addition. We also do play the fusion targets, but I will probably cut them for Lingo Rebos, honestly, depending on how much they will come up in testing. Then for non-engine, this is built to beat Kashtira. For now, we have 11 slots, which is very solid. I like 12, but 11 is fine, especially because we do have Bystials, which are sometimes still disruptive tools. So we have 3 Imperm, 3 Book of Eclipse, 3 Book of Lunar Eclipse, and 2 Nibiru. 3 Imperm is pretty standard and is super generic. It does bite itself with Bystials, but overall that shouldn't be a problem next format. Then Book of Eclipse and Book of Lunar Eclipse are auto wins against the Kashtira matchup, at least if we have a playable hand. And they're also really good with our end board, because we are trying to end on Seal plus Masquerena or Seal plus Lebellion. So if they try to go into battle phase to force our Seal out, we can just Book of Eclipse or Book of Lunar Eclipse them, completely negating their battle phase. Basically, they just wasted that, and we got rid of a body on the field in the meantime, which is very strong. So I really like how these will play with the with our end board. And Book of Lunar Eclipse also just a way to get a Dark into the graveyard, because we need to discard for the effect, so we can unbrick ourselves going second with that. So that's pretty solid. Overall, I just really like how these play with the Dragon engine, and also we are really good against them. Book of Eclipse and Book of Lunar Eclipse will be in a lot of decks for the foreseeable future, and we just enter 2 Link monsters, so we don't really care about that too much. Even if they set our Lebellion, we got ways to deal with that, because we will have Branded Regained alive 99% of the time. If the moment the opponent starts to summon one body, we can get the Magnum, and then we can Branded Beast pop their first body, which they summon. If that's Kashtira, of course. Against a lot of other decks, we probably don't want to do that. But anyways, so I really like how these play with our engine and how we play with them. And then we have 2 Nibiru to round it out. For the extra deck, we have 2 Seal, 1 Striker, 1 Pisty, pretty standard. Dark, Unicorn, Access Code line, also pretty standard. And then we use the Masquerena and Appaloosa as endboard tools, also pretty standard. I did want to play the Noctivision to have more access into Masquerena, but I really think the more non-engine is more important. So for now it is that. Maybe in the future I will play 2 Noctivision in the main, just to get more extenders going and draw more cards. XDs, Attune, pretty standard for the Bystials. Fan is a very good rank 6. Gaia and Zeus are especially good against Kashtira. And then the Albaz fusion targets, probably not needed. would probably play Lingorebus over that. Two Lingorebus, so that you can lock the Ibli lock. Not lock, but like solve the Ibli lock. For the side deck, it's pretty experimental. 3 skill drain is probably good, like just having a good floodgate for going first. Evenly is good in the new format, I feel like. Maybe more Bystials can be played. I really want to have 4 slots against Kashtira, and Chaos Hunter is probably the best one just because Shangri-La itself is very good against us, and Chaos Hunter is really good against the Ibli lock as well. And then 3 Ash because Branded Despia is probably the hardest matchup for us to deal with. So yeah, that's it for the deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Class is dismissed. Professor Samurai out. Peace.